First, I need to create a detailed outline for this story before writing the full narrative. Brief introduction to the protagonist, 34-year-old single mother named Amanda. Shocking mention of family ghosting daughter's 10th birthday party. Mention of the $1,950 demand and police being called. Sense of betrayal and disbelief at family's behavior. Call to action for viewers. Amanda's family dynamic growing up. Middle-class family with pattern of favoritism. Introduction of key family members. Parents, brother, sister. History of one-sided relationship where Amanda gives but rarely receives. Previous instances of family selfishness and taking advantage. Amanda's efforts to maintain relationship for daughter Lily's sake. Growing pattern of family missing important events in Amanda and Lily's lives. Amanda's financial struggles as a single mother and how she's worked to provide for Lily. Importance of this particular birthday to Lily. Double digits. First big party. Amanda's careful budgeting and planning for months. Details of preparations. Venue, decorations, food, activities. RSVP confirmations from all family members. Lily's excitement about having extended family present. Last-minute shopping and preparations. Amanda's financial sacrifice to make the day special, $800 spent. Morning of the party. Final preparations. Lily's growing anticipation as party time approaches. First guests arriving, friends and classmates. Absence of family members noticed. Unanswered calls and texts to family. Lily's repeated questions about grandparents and aunt/uncle. Amanda's attempts to keep party going despite disappointment. Discovery through social media that family attended a concert instead. Emotional impact on Lily trying to hide her tears during cake. Amanda's efforts to salvage the day. Days following the party. Lily's continued disappointment. Amanda's attempts to get explanations from family. Family's casual dismissal and weak excuses. Week later, sudden call from sister with emergency. Details of sister's car trouble and immediate need for $1,950 for repairs. Sister's entitlement and lack of acknowledgement about missed party. Amanda's internal struggle and decision to refuse. Confrontation about party abandonment. Sister's defensive reaction and accusations. Family mobilizing against Amanda. Unexpected police visit to Amanda's home. Officers explaining they received call about stolen money. Amanda's shock and confusion. Showing evidence that no money was owed or stolen. Discovery that parents filed false report claiming Amanda stole from them. Police understanding situation and leaving. Emotional trauma of having police at home in front of Lily. Neighbors' support during incident. Amanda's realization about toxic family patterns. Decision to create distance from toxic family. Conversation with Lily about healthy relationships. Support from friends and community. Family's escalating attempts to manipulate and pressure. Amanda standing firm on boundaries. Blocked calls and social media. Letter from Amanda. Explaining her decision. Focus on healing for both Amanda and Lily. New traditions and support system building. 6 months later. Positive changes in Amanda and Lily's lives. Emotional healing and growth. New birthday celebration with true friends. Financial stability without family draining resources. Lily's improved confidence and happiness. Reflections on difficult but necessary decisions. Lessons learned about setting boundaries. Message to viewers about recognizing toxic patterns. Hope and encouragement for others in similar situations. Call to action for comments like subscriptions and sharing. Now I'll write the complete story based on this outline. I'm Amanda, 34, and I never thought I'd see police officers at my front door because I refused to give my sister $1,950 after my entire family ghosted my daughter's 10th birthday party. The look on my little girl's face as she repeatedly asked where her grandparents were still haunts me. What hurt most wasn't just their absence, but discovering through Facebook that they'd chosen a concert instead, while my Lily tried not to cry as she blew out her candles alone. Before I dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you've ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members, leave a comment sharing a time someone disappointed you, but you found the strength to stand your ground. Now let's get into how my family's betrayal led to one of the most shocking moments of my life. Growing up in our suburban Chicago neighborhood, my family appeared perfectly normal from the outside. A typical middle-class household with 2 parents, 3 kids, and a golden retriever named Rusty. My father worked as an accountant. My mother taught elementary school. And we lived in a comfortable four-bedroom home with a backyard big enough for summer barbecues and birthday parties. But appearances can be deceiving. Inside our home, a clear hierarchy existed that I didn't fully understand until I was older. My brother Kevin, the oldest at 2 years my senior, was the undisputed favorite, the star quarterback who could do no wrong. My younger sister Melissa, 3 years behind me, secured her position as the baby of the family, perpetually in need of protection and special attention. And then there was me, Amanda, the responsible middle child, who somehow always found herself picking up the slack. Amanda's so mature for her age. My mother would tell her friends not as a compliment, but as justification for expecting more from me than my siblings. By 12, I was preparing dinner when Mom worked late. By 15, I was helping Melissa with her homework, while Kevin's only responsibility was football practice. When college applications came around, Kevin received intensive parental support and expensive test prep courses. I researched scholarships alone at the kitchen table after everyone went to bed. "You're just so self-sufficient," my father would say whenever I expressed frustration at the imbalance. "Kevin and Melissa need more guidance than you do." I internalized this narrative, believing that my independence was somehow a character flaw that made me less deserving of attention and support. When I graduated college with honors while working two part-time jobs, my parents hosted a modest dinner at home. When Kevin graduated with average grades the following year, they rented a banquet hall and invited extended family from 3 states. "That's just how they are," my college roommate observed after witnessing this dynamic firsthand. Have you ever considered that the problem isn't you? The pattern continued into adulthood. When Kevin needed a down payment for his first house, my parents withdrew from their retirement fund. When Melissa wanted to start a small online boutique, they covered her startup costs. When I needed emergency dental surgery after an accident, they offered to loan me the money at interest. "We'd help if we could," my mother explained, "but we're stretched thin with Kevin's mortgage and Melissa's business." I accepted their explanations and built my life accordingly, learning not to expect the support that flowed so freely to my siblings. I worked hard, saved carefully, and made my own way. After college, I secured a position as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm, eventually working my way up to project manager. At 27, I met Jason, and for the first time experienced what unconditional support felt like. We married after 18 months of dating, and I finally began to understand what healthy love should look like. When I became pregnant with Lily a year later, I was overjoyed but terrified, wondering if I would perpetuate the same patterns of favoritism I'd grown up with. "You're nothing like your parents," Jason assured me, his hand resting on my growing belly. "Our child will never doubt that they're loved exactly as they are." I believed him, and for 3 beautiful years, we built the family I'd always longed for. Jason was an attentive father who delighted in Lily's every milestone. We took turns with nighttime feeding, celebrated her first steps together, and filled photo albums with memories of beach trips and playground adventures. Then came the accident. A rainy night, a drunk driver, and suddenly I was a widow raising a 4-year-old daughter alone. The grief was overwhelming, made worse by the practical realities of single parenthood. Childcare costs, mortgage payments, and the emotional labor of being both mother and father to a confused, heartbroken little girl. "Move back home," my parents suggested. "We can help with Lily while you get back on your feet." For a brief moment, I considered it. But when their help came with conditions, I would need to share a bedroom with Lily in the basement, while Kevin's old room remained untouched for his occasional visits, and I would be expected to contribute significantly to household expenses. I realized that independence, however difficult, was preferable to subjecting Lily to the same dynamic I'd escaped. Instead, I downsized to a smaller apartment, found a daycare center within my budget, and gradually rebuilt our lives. My parents visited occasionally, usually when it coincided with trips to see Kevin or Melissa. They remembered Lily's birthday with cards containing $10 bills and made obligatory appearances at her kindergarten graduation and dance recitals, always leaving early for more pressing commitments. "Where are Grandma and Grandpa going?" Lily would ask, watching their retreating backs. "They're very busy people, sweetheart," I would answer, trying to shield her from the truth I was increasingly unable to deny, that in my family's hierarchy of importance, Lily and I remained firmly at the bottom. Despite this, I continued making efforts to involve my family in our lives. I sent regular updates and photos, invited them to every significant event, and made sure Lily made handmade cards for all their birthdays and anniversaries. I wanted her to have extended family connections, even if they were imperfect. When Kevin's son was born 3 years ago, my parents relocated to a rental property closer to his home for 6 months to help with the baby. When Melissa went through a difficult breakup last year, they took her on a 2-week vacation to help her heal. When I was hospitalized with pneumonia around the same time, they sent flowers with a note explaining they were too busy with Melissa to visit. "Why doesn't anyone help us when we need it?" Lily asked during my recovery, with a perceptiveness that broke my heart. "We help each other," I told her, pulling her close despite my fever. "And we have friends who care about us very much." It was true. Over the years, I'd built a support network of friends who showed up in ways my family never did. Colleagues who brought meals during my illness, neighbors who helped with school pickup when I worked late, fellow single mothers who understood the unique challenges I faced. These relationships, built on reciprocity and genuine care, stood in stark contrast to the one-sided dynamic with my family. As Lily's 10th birthday approached earlier this year, she expressed a wish that made my heart ache. "Mom, I want a real party this year," she said one evening as I tucked her into bed, with decorations and games and everyone there, even Grandma and Grandpa and Uncle Kevin and Aunt Melissa. "Everyone?" I asked, knowing how rarely my family actually showed up for her. She nodded earnestly. "I'm going to be in double digits. That's a big deal, right? And I want my whole family there, like Jasmine had at her party." Jasmine, her best friend, had recently celebrated with a large gathering that included grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins who all clearly adored her. Lily had returned from that party quiet and thoughtful, and now I understood why. "I'll make it happen," I promised, already mentally calculating how I could afford the kind of celebration she deserved. For the next 3 months, I saved diligently, putting aside a portion of each paycheck for the party. I worked extra hours, took on a small freelance project, and skipped my usual small indulgences. Lily's happiness was worth every sacrifice. I sent formal invitations to my family 8 weeks in advance, emphasizing how important this milestone was to Lily. "This means everything to her," I wrote in personal notes to each of them. "Your presence would make her 10th birthday truly special." To my surprise and cautious delight, they all responded positively. My parents called to confirm they would attend. Kevin texted that he and his wife would definitely be there. And Melissa sent an enthusiastic email about bringing her new boyfriend. "They're really coming?" Lily asked when I shared the news, her eyes wide with excitement. "They wouldn't miss it," I assured her, praying I was right. As the weeks passed, the party took shape. I booked a small event room at the community center, ordered a custom cake with Lily's favorite book character, and planned activities that would appeal to both children and adults. I found affordable decorations online, created handmade party favors during late nights after Lily was asleep, and coordinated with other parents for carpools. The final budget came to just over $800, a significant amount for our single-income household, but manageable with my careful saving. More importantly, it would give Lily the celebration she dreamed of, surrounded by friends and family who cared about her. The week before the party, I confirmed again with my family. My mother mentioned they were looking forward to it. Kevin said they had bought Lily something special, and Melissa asked if her boyfriend could attend too. Everything seemed set for the perfect day. The night before the party, Lily could barely sleep with excitement. "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa will like my dress?" she asked as I kissed her goodnight. "And do you think Uncle Kevin will play the balloon game with us?" "They'll love your dress," I assured her. "And I'm sure Uncle Kevin will play all the games." As I left her room, I felt a flutter of anxiety. Despite their confirmations, years of disappointment made me wary. But this time would be different, I told myself. They wouldn't let Lily down on such an important day. The morning of Lily's birthday dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for the celebration we had planned. Lily was up at 6, too excited to sleep, already wearing the special dress we had chosen together, a teal blue with silver stars that made her eyes shine. "Is it time to go yet?" she asked for the 5th time as I finished curling her hair. "Not quite, birthday girl," I laughed. The party doesn't start until 1 o'clock, remember? We arrived at the community center at 11 to set up transforming the simple room into a space-themed wonderland. Silver stars hung from the ceiling galaxy-patterned tablecloths covered the tables, and a banner reading, Lily's Universal 10th Birthday, stretched across the back wall. The cake, a masterpiece of planets and stars with Lily's name written across a fondant Milky Way, took center stage on the refreshment table. As the clock approached 1, Lily positioned herself near the door to greet her guests. Her friends began arriving right on time, bearing colorfully wrapped gifts and excited birthday wishes. By 1:15, most of the children and their parents had arrived, creating a lively atmosphere of laughter and conversation. But my family was nowhere to be seen. They're probably just running late, I assured Lily when she glanced anxiously at the door for the third time. Traffic might be bad. I sent a quick group text, "Party's started. We're looking forward to seeing you soon." No response. By 1:30, Lily's smile had dimmed slightly. She participated in the games and activities I had planned, but her eyes kept drifting to the entrance. I called my parents, then Kevin, then Melissa. All went straight to voicemail. "Let's start the scavenger hunt," I suggested brightly to the gathered children, trying to distract Lily from the growing absence. "Everyone find your team captains." The party continued with pizza and snacks, an art activity creating cosmic slime, and a science demonstration with dry ice that produced impressive comet tails to the delight of the children. Lily laughed and played, but I could see the hurt beneath her smiles, the way she continued checking the door whenever she thought no one was looking. At 3 o'clock, it was time for cake. As everyone gathered around singing Happy Birthday, I watched Lily's face. Joy at being celebrated mingled with undeniable disappointment that a quarter of the seats remained empty, the seats I had carefully labeled with my family members' names. "Make a wish, sweetheart," I encouraged as she prepared to blow out her candles. She closed her eyes tightly for a moment, then extinguished all 10 flames with one determined breath. Everyone cheered and applauded. "What did you wish for?" her friend Marcus asked. "I can't tell, or it won't come true," Lily replied with practiced wisdom, but her eyes met mine with a sadness that told me exactly what she had wished for, and how impossible it was. As the party wound down around 4:30, with parents arriving to collect their children, and Lily opening her gifts, I stepped into the hallway to check my phone one more time. Still no messages from my family, no explanations for their complete absence. Out of habit, I opened Facebook and felt my stomach drop. There, posted just 30 minutes earlier, was a photo of my entire family. Parents Kevin with his wife and son Melissa with her new boyfriend, all smiling broadly at what appeared to be an outdoor concert venue. The caption written by my mother read, "Perfect day with the family enjoying the Summer Jam Festival. Had blessed, had family time." The timestamp showed it had been posted at 4 o'clock, exactly when we were singing to Lily and cutting her birthday cake. They hadn't been stuck in traffic or dealing with an emergency. They had simply chosen a concert over Lily's birthday, without even the courtesy of a cancellation message. I stared at the photo, my hands shaking with a combination of hurt and rage I had never experienced before. The casual cruelty of it, not just missing the party, but publicly flaunting what they had deemed more important than Lily's special day, felt like a physical blow. "Mom," Lily's voice pulled me back to the present. She stood in the hallway holding a half-unwrapped present. "Are you okay?" I quickly locked my phone screen. "Yes, sweetheart, just checking messages." "They're not coming, are they?" she asked, her voice small but matter-of-fact. I knelt down to her level, debating how to respond. I had always tried to shield her from the full reality of my family's indifference, making excuses and softening disappointments. But looking into her knowing eyes, I realized she deserved honesty. "No, honey, they're not coming. I'm so sorry." She nodded slowly. "I knew when they didn't come by cake time." "It's okay, Mom. The party is still really good." Her maturity broke my heart. At 10 years old, she was already learning to lower her expectations to avoid disappointment, exactly what I had done throughout my childhood. "The party is amazing because you're amazing," I told her fiercely. "And anyone who doesn't see how special today is has missed out on something wonderful." She gave me a small smile. "Can we go back in? Zoe wants to see what her gift looks like on me." "Absolutely." I replied, standing and taking her hand. Let's go see. For the remainder of the party, I focused entirely on Lily and her friends, pushing thoughts of my family's betrayal aside. We played the final games, thanked each guest as they left, and packed up the decorations and leftover food. By the time we loaded everything into the car, Lily was exhausted but happy, clutching the stuffed alien that had been her favorite gift. Best birthday ever, she murmured sleepily as I drove us home. Looking at her in the rearview mirror surrounded by balloons and presents, I made a silent promise to myself. This would be the last time my family heard her. Whatever excuses or explanations they eventually offered, I would no longer expose Lily to people who consistently demonstrated that she wasn't a priority in their lives. When we arrived home, I helped my tired birthday girl to bed, tucking her in among her new treasures. "Thank you for my party, Mom," she said, her eyes already closing. "You made everything perfect." "You deserve perfect," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "Sleep tight, my double-digit girl." Once she was asleep, I returned to my phone, bracing myself for whatever belated excuses might have arrived. There were none. No missed calls, no apologetic texts, no acknowledgement whatsoever of what day it was or what they had missed. I opened Facebook again and stared at the concert photo, at the smiling faces of people who had promised a 10-year-old girl they would celebrate her birthday, then casually abandoned that promise without a word. With deliberate calm, I typed a comment. "Looks like fun. Lily missed you all at her birthday party today. The one you RSVP'd yes 2 weeks ago. The cake was delicious." Then I turned off my phone, made myself a cup of tea, and allowed myself finally to cry. The days following Lily's birthday party were strangely quiet. My comment on my mother's Facebook post disappeared within hours. Deleted, I assumed, rather than addressed. No calls came from any family members. No apologetic texts or belated birthday wishes for Lily. Their silence spoke volumes. Not only had they failed to show up, but they couldn't even muster the decency to acknowledge their absence, or check how Lily had felt about celebrating without the family members she had specifically hoped would attend. Life continued as usual. Lily returned to school proudly telling her friends about her successful party, and showing off the friendship bracelets and science kit she had received as gifts. If she noticed the absence of presents or cards from her grandparents and aunt and uncle, she didn't mention it. I found her resilience both admirable and heartbreaking. 5 days after the party, as I was preparing dinner while Lily finished homework at the kitchen table, my phone rang with my sister Melissa's number. "Hello," I answered, keeping my voice neutral despite the surge of anger I felt seeing her name. "Amanda, thank God you picked up." Melissa's voice came through, breathless and urgent. "I've been trying to reach Mom and Dad, but they're at some couples retreat with no cell service, and Kevin's not answering, and I'm in such a mess right now." No mention of the party, no acknowledgement of her absence, just straight to whatever crisis currently demanded attention. "What's going on?" I asked, my tone deliberately cool. "My car broke down completely, like dead on the side of the highway. The mechanic says it's the transmission and a bunch of other things. It's going to cost $1,950 to fix. Can you believe that?" I waited, wondering if this conversation would eventually include an apology or even recognition of what had happened 5 days ago. It didn't. "Amanda, are you there? I said it's going to cost $1,950. "I heard you," I replied. "That's unfortunate." "Well, I need to borrow the money," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "I don't get paid until the end of the month, and even then it's not enough. But I need my car for work and to see Trevor. You know he lives across town." Trevor, the boyfriend who had apparently been more important than Lily's birthday party. "You want to borrow nearly $2,000? I stated flatly. "From me." "Well, yeah. I know you're good with money and probably have savings or whatever. I'll pay you back as soon as I can." "As soon as you can," I repeated. "Like you paid back the $500 you borrowed for your dental work last year. Or the $300 for your portion of Mom's anniversary gift that I covered. Or the $200 when you forgot your wallet on our lunch date and I had to pay for both of us." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Are you seriously bringing that up right now?" "I'm stranded, Amanda. This is an emergency." "Where were you 5 days ago, Melissa?" I asked, finally addressing the elephant in the room. "What, 5 days ago? I don't know why." It was Lily's 10th birthday party, the one you RSVP'd yes to, the one all of you missed without so much as a text message explanation. Another pause. Oh, right, that. Look, something came up. Trevor got these last-minute tickets to that summer concert thing, and it was such a great opportunity. We figured Lily would have plenty of other people there she wouldn't really notice if we didn't make it. The casual dismissal of my daughter's feelings hit me like a physical blow. I glanced at Lily, still focused on her homework, thankfully out of earshot of this conversation. She noticed, I said quietly, my voice tight with controlled anger. She waited by the door for you. She asked about you during the party. She cried that night after I put her to bed thinking I couldn't hear her. Well, I'm sorry she was disappointed, but kids are resilient, right? It's not like it was her sweet 16 or something major. It was major to her, I replied. And you all knew that. I made that clear in the invitations, in my follow-up calls, and the texts I sent that day when you didn't show up. Are you seriously this upset about a kid's birthday party, Amanda? I'm stranded with a broken car. This is an actual adult problem. The answer is no, Melissa. I will not be lending you $1,950 or any amount of money now or in the foreseeable future. What? She sputtered. Because of a birthday party, are you for real right now? This isn't just about the birthday party. It's about a pattern that's existed our entire lives. I give, you all take. I make efforts, you all make excuses. I consider your feelings, you disregard mine. And worse, you disregard Lily's. So you're just going to leave me stranded because you're having some sort of middle child meltdown. Call an Uber, I suggested calmly. Or better yet, call Mom and Dad. They seem to have money for concert tickets last weekend. Or call Kevin, since you're all so good at showing up for each other when it matters. I can't believe you're being this petty. Melissa's voice rose. After everything our family has done for you. The absurdity of her statement almost made me laugh. Please enlighten me, Melissa. What exactly has our family done for me lately, or for Lily? Name one thing. We're family. That's what we do. No, that's what I do. I show up. I make efforts. I give support. Emotional, practical, and yes, financial, whenever it's needed. And when Lily and I needed you, all of you, for something as simple as attending a birthday party, we invited you to months in advance. You chose a concert instead. You know what? Forget it. I'll figure something out. But Mom and Dad are going to hear about this, Amanda. And Kevin, too. They're not going to be happy with how selfish you're being. Feel free to tell them exactly why I said no. In fact, I hope you do. It's about time we all had an honest conversation about the one-sided nature of this relationship. Melissa hung up without another word. I set my phone down, my hands shaking slightly with adrenaline. It was the first time I had ever directly confronted any family member about their behavior. The first time I had refused a request for help. The first time I had explicitly named the dynamics I had silently endured for decades. It felt both terrifying and liberating. Is everything okay, Mom? Lily asked, looking up from her homework with concern. Yes, sweetheart, I assured her, returning to the vegetables I'd been chopping. Just a conversation with Aunt Melissa about grown-up stuff. Was she saying sorry for missing my party? The innocent question twisted in my chest. No, honey, she was asking for help with something. Lily nodded thoughtfully. That's usually what she calls for, right? To ask for help. The observation, so accurate and yet so sad coming from a 10-year-old, confirmed I had made the right decision. Lily was already noticing the patterns I had spent years trying to shield her from. Yes, I admitted. That is usually why she calls. Did you help her? Lily asked, returning to her math problems. Not this time, I said. Sometimes helping someone all the time isn't actually helpful for them in the long run. Lily considered this, then nodded sagely. Like when Ms. Peterson doesn't give us the answers, but makes us figure them out ourselves, even when it's hard. Something like that? I agreed, smiling at her wisdom. We finished dinner preparation together, and the conversation shifted to school projects and weekend plans. Melissa's call faded to the background as we enjoyed our evening routine of dinner, a board game, and reading together before bedtime. I expected a barrage of angry calls from my parents, and possibly Kevin once Melissa shared my refusal with them. Instead, silence persisted for 2 more days. I began to wonder if perhaps my sister had been too embarrassed to admit I had finally stood my ground, or if the family was regrouping to present a united front against my unprecedented rebellion. The answer came on the third day after Melissa's call, in a form I never could have anticipated. The knock on our front door came at 7:30 on a Thursday evening. Lily and I were in the middle of our weekly movie night, curled up on the couch with popcorn and hot chocolate, still in our pajamas despite the early hour. It was our favorite tradition, a midweek break from homework and work stress, a small oasis of mother-daughter time. "Are we expecting anyone?" Lily asked reluctantly, pausing the movie. "No," I replied, equally puzzled. "Maybe it's a package delivery?" When I opened the door, I found myself facing two uniformed police officers, a middle-aged man with a serious expression, and a younger woman whose hand rested cautiously near her belt. "Amanda Wilson?" the male officer asked. "Yes," I confirmed, a surge of fear immediately rising. Had there been an accident? Was someone hurt? "I'm Officer Ramirez, and this is Officer Chen. We're responding to a report filed by Robert and Margaret Wilson alleging theft of funds. May we come in to ask you a few questions?" The fear transformed instantly to confusion, then disbelief, then a cold anger as I processed his words. Robert and Margaret Wilson, my parents, had filed a police report against me. "Theft of funds," I repeated, struggling to maintain my composure. There must be some mistake. "Ma'am, we're just here to investigate the report. If you could answer some questions, we can hopefully clear this up quickly." I glanced back at Lily, who was watching wide-eyed from the couch, the movie forgotten. "Lily, honey, can you please go to your room for a few minutes while I talk to these officers?" She hesitated, clearly concerned. "Is everything okay, Mom?" "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just a misunderstanding I need to sort out. I'll come get you as soon as we're done." Once Lily had reluctantly disappeared down the hallway, I invited the officers into our small living room, my mind racing to make sense of this surreal situation. "Ms. Wilson," Officer Ramirez began, notepad in hand. "We received a report stating that you refused to return $1,950 belonging to your parents that was meant for your sister Melissa's car repairs. Can you tell us about that?" The pieces clicked into place. Melissa had twisted my refusal to lend her money into a theft allegation, and my parents had escalated it to law enforcement. "That's completely false," I stated firmly. "My sister called me a few days ago asking to borrow $1,950 for car repairs. I declined to lend her that money. At no point did my parents give me any funds to pass along to her or anyone else." Officer Chen spoke up. "The complainant stated that they transferred the money to your account specifically to give to your sister, and that you're refusing to release it." "That never happened," I replied, reaching for my phone. "I'm happy to show you my bank statements right now. There have been no transfers from my parents in years, actually." I pulled up my banking app and showed them my recent transaction history. No deposits matching the amount in question, no transfers from anyone with my parents' names. Additionally, I continued, emboldened by the absurdity of the situation. I have text messages from my sister explicitly asking to borrow the money from me, not to forward money she believed I was holding for her. I showed them the text conversation that had followed Melissa's call. Her messages clearly asking for a loan, not demanding funds she believed were rightfully hers. The officers exchanged glances. "Ms. Wilson, do you mind if we make a phone call to clarify the situation?" Officer Ramirez asked. "Please do," I replied, maintaining my composure despite the fury building inside me. They stepped onto my small front porch for privacy, while I waited in the living room, still stunned by this escalation. My family hadn't just ghosted my daughter's birthday and refused to acknowledge it. They had now filed a false police report against me, sending officers to my home, where my child could see them. A line had been crossed that could never be uncrossed. After several minutes, the officers returned, their demeanor noticeably different, less suspicious, more apologetic. "Ms. Wilson, we apologize for the disturbance," Officer Chen said. "It appears there was indeed a misunderstanding. We've spoken with the complainants and clarified that no theft occurred, as no money was ever transferred to you for this purpose." A misunderstanding. I repeated the word inadequate for what had just happened. "My parents and sister filed a false police report against me, causing officers to come to my home, frightening my daughter because I wouldn't give my sister money I don't owe her." Officer Ramirez cleared his throat uncomfortably. We don't believe there was malicious intent to file a false report. The complainant seemed to genuinely believe their version of events, but when confronted with the discrepancies, they acknowledged there may have been miscommunication. Miscommunication. I echoed the word, tasting bitter. Is there anything else you need from me? No, ma'am. Again, we apologize for the disturbance. The matter is considered closed. As they turned to leave, Officer Chen paused. Ms. Wilson, just as a friendly suggestion, it might be good to have a direct conversation with your family to clear the air. Family disputes can escalate quickly, as you've seen tonight. Thank you for the advice, I replied neutrally, knowing no conversation could repair what had just been broken. After showing them out, I stood in the entryway for several minutes, processing what had just happened. The ultimate manipulation tactic, using law enforcement to intimidate me into compliance. It was so far beyond acceptable behavior that it had crossed into a realm I didn't have words for. Mom! Lily's small voice came from the hallway. Are the police gone? Why were they here? I turned to find her standing nervously in her pajamas, hugging her favorite stuffed animal. The sight of her, innocent, concerned, confused, crystallized everything for me. Yes, they're gone, sweetheart. It was just a big misunderstanding. Was it about Aunt Melissa? I heard you talking about her when they were here. I considered how to explain this situation in a way that wouldn't burden her with adult problems, but wouldn't lie to her either. Aunt Melissa asked me for some money that I didn't want to give her, and she and Grandma and Grandpa got confused and thought I was keeping money that belonged to them. The police helped us sort it out. Lily's brow furrowed as she processed this. They called the police on you because you wouldn't give them money. Yes, I admitted. But it's all cleared up now. She was quiet for a moment, thinking, that doesn't seem like a nice thing for family to do. No, I agreed softly. It wasn't nice at all. Are we still going to see them for Sunday dinners and holidays and stuff? The question hung in the air between us, weighted with implications that Lily couldn't fully understand, but clearly sensed. I think, I said carefully, that we need to take a break from seeing them for a while. Sometimes even with family, we need to step back when people don't treat us with respect. She nodded solemnly, like when Zoe and I took a friendship break last year, when she was being mean about my science project. We didn't talk for 2 weeks until she apologized. Something like that, I confirmed. But this might be a longer break. That's okay, Lily said with surprising certainty. They weren't very good at showing up for us anyway. The simple truth of her observation struck me deeply. Out of the mouths of babes indeed. Come on, I said, extending my hand to her. Let's finish our movie. I think there's still some popcorn left. As we settled back on the couch, resuming our interrupted evening, I felt a strange sense of peace beneath the residual anger and hurt. The police visit, meant to intimidate and control me, had instead clarified exactly what needed to happen next. The decision I had been struggling with since the birthday party betrayal had been made for me. It was time to set boundaries that should have been established years ago. The week following the police incident passed in a blur of normal activities: work deadlines, Lily's school projects, grocery shopping, and household chores. I hadn't reached out to my family, and surprisingly, they hadn't contacted me either. Perhaps they were embarrassed by the officer's discovery of their false claims, or maybe they were regrouping for another attempt at manipulation. Either way, the silence was a relief as I gathered my thoughts and planned my next steps. On Sunday evening, after Lily had gone to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and opened my laptop. It was time to address what had happened clearly and directly. After considerable thought, I composed an email addressed to my parents, Kevin and Melissa. Subject: moving forward. Mom, Dad. Kevin and Melissa. I'm writing to address recent events and establish clear boundaries going forward. Last week, officers came to my home based on a false police report, claiming I had stolen money. This frightened and confused my daughter, disrupted our evening, and could have had serious consequences for my reputation and career had the officers not quickly determined the truth. This incident followed your collective decision to skip Lily's 10th birthday party without explanation or apology, despite having RSVP'd yes weeks in advance. I later discovered through social media that you chose to attend a concert instead, while my daughter waited by the door for grandparents, aunt and uncle who never arrived. These are not isolated incidents, but the culmination of a lifelong pattern where my needs and Lily's have been consistently deprioritized. I've spent years making excuses for this treatment, both to myself and to my daughter, but I can no longer do so in good conscience. Effective immediately, I am establishing the following boundaries. 1. I will not be lending or giving money to any family member for any reason. 2. I will not be attending family gatherings for the foreseeable future. 3. I will not be responding to communications that do not acknowledge the harm that has been done. Any future relationship will require sincere apologies and demonstrated change in behavior. This is not a decision I've made lightly or in anger. It comes from a place of self-respect and the responsibility I have to protect my daughter from the disappointment and hurt that comes from unreliable relationships. I wish you all well, Amanda. I read the email several times, making small adjustments to ensure it conveyed my boundaries clearly, without unnecessary emotion or accusation. Then, before I could second-guess myself, I clicked send. Almost immediately, my phone began ringing, my mother's number flashing on the screen. I declined the call. Within minutes, text messages began arriving from various family members. Mom, Amanda, please pick up. We need to talk about this ridiculous email. Dad, you're blowing this out of proportion. Call your mother back. Kevin, drama much. It was just a kid's party. Get over yourself. Melissa, OMG, are you seriously cutting us off over money? So selfish. I read each message without responding, noting how none of them acknowledged any wrongdoing or expressed concern for how Lily had been affected. Instead, they minimized, deflected, and attempted to make me feel guilty for establishing boundaries. Exactly the pattern I had outlined in my email. The messages continued through the evening and into the next day, growing increasingly manipulative. Mom, your father's blood pressure is through the roof because of this. Is that what you want? Dad, we've always supported you. This is how you repay us. Kevin, Lily deserves to have family in her life. You're punishing her because of your issues. Melissa, I can't believe you destroy this family over a stupid misunderstanding. On the third day, when it became clear I wasn't responding, the tone shifted. Mom, we're coming over tonight to sort this out in person. Be there at 7. This message sent a spike of anxiety through me, but I held firm. I replied with a single sentence: I will not be opening my door to uninvited visitors. Please respect the boundaries I've established. That evening, I kept Lily inside, drew the blinds, and calmly explained that we might have visitors who wouldn't be coming in. Is it Grandma and Grandpa? She asked perceptively. It might be, I acknowledged. But we're taking some time away from them right now, remember? So we won't be answering the door. Because they were mean to you and called the police. That and other things. Sometimes adults need time apart to figure things out, just like you and your friends sometimes need space. Sure enough, at 7 o'clock precisely, a car pulled into our driveway. From the window, I could see my parents approaching the front door, their expressions determined. The doorbell rang once, twice, then 3 times in quick succession. Knocking followed, then my mother's voice calling my name. Lily and I sat in the living room continuing our board game as if nothing unusual was happening. After about 15 minutes of intermittent knocking and calling, silence fell. I peeked through the blinds to see them returning to their car, my mother gesturing animatedly as my father shook his head. Are they gone? Lily whispered. Yes, they're gone. Good, she said simply, returning her attention to the game. Your turn, Mom. The attempted ambush was the last direct contact attempt for several weeks. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard various versions of the story my family was telling, that I had lost it over nothing, that I was punishing them for missing some party, that I was having a midlife crisis, despite being only 34. None of these stories mentioned the police incident or the years of one-sided relationship that had preceded it. Interestingly, as the weeks passed, I noticed subtle changes in how I felt. The constant low-level anxiety that had accompanied family interactions for years began to dissipate. I stopped automatically checking my phone when I woke up bracing for some new crisis or demand. The guilty feeling that had plagued me whenever I prioritized Lily's needs or my own faded gradually. Most importantly, Lily seemed happier. Without the roller coaster of excitement over promised family visits, followed by the inevitable disappointment when those promises fell through, she developed a more stable emotional rhythm. She stopped asking about grandparents and extended family, instead, focusing on the consistent relationships in her life: school friends, our neighbors, my close friends who had become her honorary aunts and uncles. 6 weeks after sending the email, I received a letter in the mail, actual paper mail, not electronic, from my mother. The handwriting on the envelope was unmistakably hers. The stationery, the cream-colored paper she had used for correspondence, my entire life. With mixed emotions, I opened it after Lily had gone to bed, unsure what to expect. The letter was brief. Amanda, I'm writing to inform you that your father and I have decided to respect your wish for distance, although we believe it's misguided and hurtful to everyone involved, especially Lily. We've explained to the extended family that you're going through a difficult personal time and need space. We still expect you'll come to your senses eventually. When that happens, we'll be here ready to welcome you back into the family without dwelling on this unfortunate episode. Until then, please know that this separation is entirely your choice and responsibility. Love, Mom. P.S. Melissa found someone to lend her the money for her car. Just thought you should know. I read the letter twice, noting its complete lack of apology, acknowledgement, or self-reflection. The postscript about Melissa's car repair money was particularly telling, a final attempt to make me feel that I had failed in my sisterly duty, when in fact it only confirmed that other resources had been available all along. Rather than feeling angry or hurt, I felt a strange sense of closure. This letter, with its condescension and blame shifting, was the clearest confirmation yet that I had made the right decision. A healthy family would have responded to my boundaries with reflection and respect, not with manipulation and dismissal. I placed the letter in a folder where I had been documenting the events of the past months: screenshots of the birthday party RSVP confirmations, the concert social media posts, the text exchanges after the police visit, my boundary-setting email. Not as ammunition for some future confrontation, but as a reminder to myself of why these boundaries were necessary. That night I slept more peacefully than I had in years, unburdened by the weight of trying to earn approval from people who were fundamentally incapable of giving it. 6 months passed and the seasons changed. Summer's heat gave way to autumn's crisp air, and eventually to the first dusting of winter snow. Life settled into new patterns, more peaceful, more predictable, and surprisingly more connected despite the family ties I had severed. In the absence of the negative relationships I'd cut from our lives, positive ones had room to flourish. My neighbor Sandra, a retired teacher, began inviting Lily over for baking sessions and became a grandmother figure who never missed an important event. My college friend Michael and his husband Derek, who had recently moved to our city, joined us for weekly Sunday dinners, a new tradition to replace the stressful family gatherings of the past. At work, freed from the constant drain of family emergencies and financial requests, I found new energy and focus. A promotion followed, bringing both increased responsibility and a welcome salary boost that allowed me to enroll Lily in the art classes she had been wanting to try. Most meaningfully, my relationship with Lily deepened. Without the background anxiety of managing difficult family dynamics, I was more present, more patient, more attuned to her needs and interests. We developed inside jokes, weekend rituals, and the kind of comfortable shorthand that comes from true connection. "Mom," she said one evening as we walked home from her art class, her hands carefully carrying a newly completed watercolor, "I don't miss them anymore." "Who, sweetie?" I asked, though I knew exactly who she meant. Grandma and Grandpa and everyone. I used to feel sad when I thought about them, but now I don't really think about them at all. I looked down at my daughter, growing taller by the day it seemed, and saw no sadness in her expression, just the simple honesty of a child stating a fact. "Is that okay?" she asked, mistaking my thoughtful silence for concern. "Should I miss them?" "Your feelings are always okay," I assured her. "You can't force yourself to miss people who weren't really present in your life." She nodded, satisfied with this answer. "I like our family better now anyway. It's smaller, but it makes more sense." "Makes more sense?" I echoed, curious about her phrasing. "Yeah, like everyone who's in our life now actually wants to be here. Nobody pretends they're coming to my birthday and then doesn't show up. Nobody makes you cry or sends police to our house. It's more real. Out of the mouths of babes, indeed. My 10-year-old had articulated exactly what I had been feeling, but struggling to put into words. Our circle had become smaller, but infinitely more authentic. The holidays approach traditionally a difficult time for those who have established family boundaries. In previous years, I would have forced myself to attend uncomfortable family gatherings for Lily's sake, endured subtle digs about my parenting or career, and left feeling drained rather than festive. This year, we created our own traditions. We baked cookies with Sandra, attended a holiday concert with Michael and Derek, volunteered at a local shelter serving meals, and planned a cozy Christmas morning just for the two of us. When an invitation arrived for my parents' annual Christmas Eve gathering, the first contact since my mother's letter months earlier, I recognized it for what it was: not a genuine olive branch, but a test of my resolve, and an opportunity for them to say I had rejected their attempts at reconciliation. I declined politely but firmly, without explanation or justification. The boundaries I had established remained in place, unshaken by seasonal expectations or traditions. On New Year's Eve, as Lily and I sat on our couch in matching pajamas, counting down the final minutes of the year, with hot chocolate and a movie, I reflected on the journey of the past 6 months. The family dynamics I had accepted as normal for decades had been revealed as anything but. The guilt and obligation that had driven my decisions for so long had been replaced by clarity and purpose. "Mom," Lily said, interrupting my thoughts as the clock approached midnight, "this has been the best year ever." "Really?" I asked, surprised by her assessment given the family turmoil and changes. "Really," she confirmed with absolute certainty, "because you're happier now. You laugh more and worry less, and that makes me happier too." As the clock struck midnight and the new year began, I hugged my daughter close, overwhelmed with gratitude for her wisdom and resilience. The painful decisions and confrontations of the past year had led us here, to this moment of genuine peace and connection. The family that had ghosted my daughter's birthday party and then called the police when I refused to give them money was no longer a defining force in our lives. Instead, we had built something better: a chosen family based on mutual respect, genuine care, and consistent presence. As difficult as it had been to establish and maintain these boundaries, the results spoke for themselves. Sometimes the healthiest thing we can do for ourselves and our children is to step away from toxic patterns, especially when, those patterns involve family. Blood may be thicker than water, but love should never feel like drowning. The new year stretched before us, full of possibilities, unencumbered by the weight of unhealthy expectations and one-sided relationships. For the first time in my life, I was truly free. Not from family, but from the false belief that family connections should be preserved at all costs, even at the expense of dignity, self-respect, and emotional well-being. It was a lesson I hoped Lily would carry forward in her own life: that love should lift you up, not wear you down; that relationships should be reciprocal, not extractive; and that sometimes the bravest, most loving choice you can make is to walk away from people who cannot or will not respect your boundaries. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did it affect your well-being and relationships? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about navigating complicated family dynamics and finding peace through healthy boundaries. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to prioritize their own well-being, even when family is involved. Thank you for listening, and remember, you deserve relationships that respect and nourish you, not ones that drain and diminish you.